Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. It is a little bit cold and snowy outside, so I thought I would do sort of a warming chicken stew. So I've got a big stock pot on the stove top, and to that I'm going to add a big lump of butter, and I'll just get that melted into the bottom. Once that butter has melted down, I have some chicken thighs here that I have deboned, deskinned, and chopped up into sort of bite-sized pieces. And I want to brown the chicken in that butter. And I'm just going to do it a few at a time because I don't want to cool the pot too much. Now, I don't want to overstate the amount of browning you should expect on the chicken. Not a whole lot. We're not looking to cook it all the way through either because we will cook it later in the stew. You're really just looking to get some brown on the bottom of the pot, and you have to be careful because we're frying this in butter, and you don't want to burn that butter. You don't want to get it to the point where the butter becomes bitter because you burnt it. So once I get the chicken out of the pot, I'm going to put in some diced onion. And we just want to bring this onion to the point where it's translucent. Don't want to get too much color on it at all. So stir that around in the butter. And then I'm also going to squeeze in some garlic. You could mince the garlic if you want to. I kind of like this garlic squisher. So we give that a stir around. I've got some flour. I want to tip in 3-4 tablespoons of flour and cook that in with the onions and the butter. Now, people always freak out about how long you're supposed to fry the flour in the pan before you add any other ingredients because you don't want the raw flour taste. It doesn't take that long at all, and especially since this is a soup, it's going to simmer for quite some time. So this is fine to move right on to the next step. We're looking for some of the thickening power. The longer you fry it, the less thickening power you have. The shorter you fry it, the more thickening power you have. There's this whole sliding scale on flavor and so on and so forth. Find one that works for you. Find one that gives you the thickening you want, the flavor you want, etc., etc., etc. Don't worry about the raw flour taste, because you probably eat raw cookie dough, and you never complain about the raw flour taste in the raw cookie dough or lick the beaters after you've made a cake. So next into the pot we have thyme, rosemary, summer savory, a couple of bay leaves, and some sage. Just give that a bit of a stir, and then I'm going to dump in the vegetables right away. So I have celery, mushrooms, and carrots. In they go. And then chicken stock, and this is homemade chicken stock. Now I'm going to bring this up to a simmer. I'm going to put the chicken back in, and I'm going to put a lid on this sort of loosely and let it simmer for 25 or 30 minutes before we move on to the next step. Yeah, no, don't forget to season with salt and pepper. Now we let it simmer. Okay, we are in the home stretch with this stew or soup, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you can thicken this as thick as you want. So at this point, you need to decide if it's thick enough or not. And if you want it thicker, a beurre manier would bring this together and thicken it. If you want it a little bit thinner, you could add a little bit more chicken stock. I'm going to add some cream. And if you don't want to add cream, you could add milk. And that's going to bring another layer of flavor and sort of unctuousness to this stew. But first, I'm going to put in the frozen vegetables. And you could use any frozen vegetables that you want. I've got edamame, because I think edamame go really well in a soup or stew. I have green peas, because I love green peas. And I have some corn. You could put in green beans, broccoli, cauliflower. You could put in some diced up potatoes, any veg that you want. So just stir those in. They don't really need to be cooked. They just need to be heated through. And I'm going to add somewhere between half and 1 whole cup of cream. And this is heavy cream, 35%. That looks pretty good. Now, before you serve it, of course, taste it and check for salt and pepper, and then season it accordingly. But I think we're ready to go.
In that case, I'm right on time.
Hey, Jules, get a spoon.
Hey, friends.
So, chicken soupy stew. Stewy soup. Depending on how thick you want to make it, it could go either way.
It's got lots of good stuff in it.
It does have lots of good stuff in it. I'm really looking forward to this. Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things my grandmother would make tea biscuits and drop them on top and cook them up.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like a drop biscuit, and then they would cook and they'd be soggy on the bottom. That would be really good.
And they've soaked up all those flavors. I do really like that.
Yes, I do. I do too. And yet, I never think to do it.
No, not until you're done, until you're sitting here eating it, and
then
it's
it's like
late.
it's too late. But Granny always remembered to do it. Wow, that's because she was really great.
Grannies are great.
So this is a great base to start a chicken stew or soup. And of course, you can change the vegetables. Potatoes you could put in broccoli, cauliflower, any of those things that you like.
Leave out the ones you don't like.
Leave out the ones you don't like. And so I put summer savory in that, and I understand that summer savory isn't something that people can get everywhere. So leave it out. Don't worry about what you would substitute for summer savory. Just, leave it out. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.